Demonstrators came to Washington today to get U.S. politicians to make a change in their own backyard. The protesters are focusing on the power plant that supplies Capitol Hill with energy. The plant was built 100 years ago. It is still operating, and it is still using coal. The demonstrators say the plant should be shut down. They say it's one example of why governments in the U.S. and Canada need to take bold action on climate change. American politicians are getting messages from Canada, too. The federal Minister of Environment is in Washington looking for ways the U.S. and Canada can cooperate. But another delegation is looking for some fast action from the Americans. Melina Lubicon and Eriel Deranger are with a group of First Nations youth who have gone to Washington to lobby against projects they say are bad for their people. I want to welcome both of you ladies to our program. Melina, why was it important for you to be in Washington, and what's the issue you want to bring home there?
Well, first of all, I wanted to raise awareness about what's happening back in our territory in regards to expansion of oil sands development. And I wanted to bring the message of exactly what's happening to our young people as well as to the older people of devastating health concerns, as well as wildlife concerns, is environmental destruction that's happening in northern part of Canada.
Help me to understand that environmental destruction you talk about. Eriel, I understand you're there with the same message. What have you seen from extraction of oil from the oil sands that is affecting your community?
Well, Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation is a downstream community located in Fort Chipewyan, which has seen very, very immense, devastating impacts caused from pollutions, toxic chemicals that they use for the extraction process in tar sands that are being dumped into the Athabasca River and that flow downstream to the community. This has caused devastating effects to the water sources, the wildlife that live off of these water sources, as well as the plants, and the community has seen an increase in cancers and a loss of wildlife that they have used for subsistence for years, for time immemorial. And
you're saying that all of this is based on the oil sands and the production of oil?
Well, if you look at the history of the community of Fort Chipewyan, you'll see that over the last 30 years they've seen a steady increase in autoimmune diseases, which can be attributed to many of the toxic chemicals that have been found in the Athabasca River.
Melina, with your one of your concerns, I understand, is the construction of a pipeline, and that's going to cross through Lubicon First Nation. How will that project affect the people who are living there?
Well, first of all, we already have conventional oil as well as logging in our traditional territory. So there's over 400 wells within our 14-mile radius around our community. So we're also seeing devastating effects. So with this onset of this North Central Corridor pipeline, it will also be coming through our traditional territory and wreaking havoc upon the environmental and as well as wildlife, like I said. And it's going to be essentially...
It's basically going to fragment the entire community, and these socioeconomical impacts are going to be vast. You're going to see an onset of a different culture being put into a culture that is very isolated from the rest of Canada. And you're going to see these huge camps being brought in. You're going to see a fragmentation of wildlife and the ecosystems that are fragile in that area.
So what do you want the U.S. to hear? You know, that's the message.
Well, Jim Prentice, the Minister of Environment, is here in Washington today, in meeting with Senator Kerry to discuss, I'm guessing, in part energy, and, you know, to begin this clean energy dialogue. And we're seeing that the tar sands are on the table. I mean, right now, the United States is importing 80% of Canada's tar sands. And we need to understand also that the Canadian public is funding the tar sands. It's not just an issue between the United States and Canada, but this is a Canadian public issue. This is a cross-border issue as well as a public issue. We're talking about the Canadian public putting their money into bank systems, which are in turn financing these projects. And some of the biggest banks, like Royal Bank, are contributing billions of dollars to these projects.
Do you think there can be clean oil then, when we talk about the oil sands and the importance, you know, of that exportation to the United States, the importance to all of us in our lives? Can there be that?
As far as tar sands as far as I'm concerned with tar sands, Jim Prentice is trying to tout CCS as a way to clean up the tar sands, and it has not been proven as a viable methodology. It is not the panacea to tar sands development in Canada. There is no, in my opinion, there is no clean tar sands development.
Melina, what about for you? What do you think you have yet to accomplish in Washington?
Well, I think what we're calling for is an increase towards investment in renewable energy and a shift away from the fossil fuel regime that we see that's happening, which is having devastating effects on our communities.
All right, I want to thank you both for taking the time to talk to us, and safe trip home.
Thanks.
Thank you.